Hi, it's me again, Abby. I feel like you've heard me say that so many times by now, but um, someone, my friend Olive, who I've learned so very much from already, love her videos. Please check her out. I'll link her channel. But she requested that I do a video on my perspectives of ABA therapy. And so, as a late diagnosed autistic person, I am so very privileged and blessed that I did not have to live as many realities of ABA therapy as other people that are diagnosed when they're like 2 or 3. However, I still have done speech therapy. I still have had intense compliance training culturally. Um, and also, like, I've been in the classes where we talk about this. I see patterns, and I don't know if anybody else is pointing out these patterns. So I'm just gonna sit and I'm gonna point them out. And, like, it may take a few videos, but here is why I don't mess with ABA therapy. And you have to keep in mind what I do for a living. Like, I am a trauma informed student services professional, so like things that I deal with on a daily basis, like sexual assault, abuse, domestic violence, people feeling like they have no voice. And like for some autistic people, especially people that are in ABA therapy, they literally have no vocal, like what we picture sometimes as a voice, but that doesn't mean that they don't understand what's going on. This is Dottie, by the way. This is my other cat. It doesn't mean that they don't understand what's going on. Like, we can hear you even if we're not talking, and like even if they're not talking, they maybe can still type, and even if they can't type, like, their identity and their humanity is still so valid. And so the fact that you are taking these 2 and 3-year-old kids and you are putting them in like 20 to 40 hours of intense therapy, like, even if it's playing, what kid do you know that like wants to play for 20 to 40 hours a week, like without a break, with an adult there? Like, first of all, that's creepy. Okay? That's very creepy. And so when we think about the foundations of ABA therapy, we think of Pavlov, right? So if you don't know about Pavlov, Pavlov is like, I don't know, this dude, and he wanted to see if he could make dogs salivate. So he trained them to like salivate at the sound of a bell. So if he rang the bell, they thought they were getting fed and they would salivate, right? And so this was like one of the first experiments that like followed this. And since then, they've done a ton more experiments on like animals. And like, if we have entire organizations like PETA that like, their whole purpose is like standing outside with like pictures of butchered animals to talk about how bad animal testing is, like, why are we still doing this on human beings? First of all, it was wrong when Pavlov did it, and the Stanford prison experiment and like the Milgram tests are like still taught as like these super unethical, we should never do this thing again. But like, we have a $17 billion industry on ABA therapy, and like suddenly autistic people are the ones that are radical because we see a problem with it. And the other problem really roots in like, it honestly goes all the way back to imperialism and like manifest destiny, and like, please, if I recount this wrong and it is not the correct telling, and like someone correct me, but like, manifest destiny was like this belief that like the imperialists had of like, God gives me this power to save indigenous people. And so they took them from their homes and put them in camps and like tried to make them forget their indigenous culture and their indigenous backgrounds. And what happened from that? Like, you see in the indigenous community, there's like this generational trauma. And first off, people still assume that indigenous people and Native Americans like aren't still around, but they are. Like, they are in the masses. It's just, you don't like, see their voices, but who controls their voices? The same people that cause like these terrible things on their community. And so they're saying like, I have the power of God. God put this faith in me, and like I have the right to do this. So my question to people that support ABA therapy is like, who the fuck gave you the right to do this? Who gives you the right to tell my parents that they don't love their kids if they don't put them in 40 hours of treatment and refinance the mortgage they already couldn't afford? Like, that's what you consider a bad parent? Like, thank the Lord that my family was poor. And I say that I'm not even that religious. You know, like, take religion out of it because that's a thing in itself. So you have like the history of like how we treat the indigenous community, and then you have like this super, if we are like acting against animal testings, like these are human beings like with thoughts and feelings, and the reason that they're crying and the reason that they're flapping their hands is like they're in pain, and there are things that you can do in the environment to like keep us out of pain. So like, why would you expect us to adapt and just learn with a lifetime of pain when you could just take away the things that cause us pain and teach us the strategies that we could have to not have to suffer? And you know, ABA therapy is the same thing as conversion therapy, and it all goes back to Pavlov. And so you have people in the LGBT community, which many autistic people are, and they are having an outcry saying like, for the love of God, you're killing us. You're killing us. You know, like now we know and accept that you don't change the mind of a trans person, you change the body. You don't, you know, take away people's gayness, you just give them rights. So in the same sense, you don't give away flappy hands and happy hands and the fact that I tap my feet constantly and I always have to have a Diet Coke and that I speak in monologues. Like you don't take that away. You teach people how to love us and how to accept us. Like, how do you accommodate me in the workplace? I'm one of the most talented and intelligent individuals there is, and yet like I still every day have felt like I was never good enough. And like, until I found the other autistic community and understood this was a thing, I wanted to die. And like, I don't think anybody understands how isolating it is. Do you know what it's like every single day of your life to want to die? Because I do. Until I got my diagnosis, that's what I felt. And the second you put a label on it, everybody's like, oh, don't label yourself. The second you put a label on it was the second I finally felt like I had a purpose, like my life mattered and like my voice mattered. And so when you come at me with like, oh no, I love these children with autism so much, I'd never do anything to hurt them. Well, guess what? You may not know that you're hurting them, but I see the pain in their eyes. I can't even watch a video of a kid going through ABA therapy because I'm hurting for them. And so like, we know that the whole reason we know about autism is because of fucking Nazi Germany. You know, like, it was eugenics, and they're killing us. And every icon that you know that's an autistic person, other than the founder of Pokemon, promotes eugenics. And you're searching for a cure because you want to fix us, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with me. And there never has been. Like, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. But yet, when I'm, like, celebrating who I am and everything I learned in my own fucking master's graduation, I'm walking behind a line of blue puzzle pieces, knowing that they just graduated from the ABA program, knowing that they are about to be deployed to commit harm against the very kids that I'm trying to protect and I'm trying to save. And not even in the sense of being a white savior, but if I don't tell you what this is like as an autistic person that can read behavior, like, I don't need a specific degree for that. That's literally how I communicated my whole life, is understanding behavior. You know, this is how I help train parrots and abandon and abuse animals. You know, like, if I don't speak up and say something, who the fuck is going to? And if you don't listen to me, who are you going to listen to? Like, how many kids are going to grow up wanting to die every single day before you do something? How many Greta Thunbergs, or however you say her last name, I love you, Greta, how many of those kids is it going to take to scream and beg for change? How many of me's is it going to take to literally beg for our lives before you do something? And you can silence me as much as you want. You can put pink in your puzzle piece, but the fact is, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be the one at the end of the day that watches my entire community and all these people that I love, people that I don't even know, but I get them. So, you can be like, oh, you're spreading harm. No, I'm not. Like, autistic people are the experts of their own experience. And you need to let that sink in. You would never let any other group speak over a marginalized community. So why are you doing this to autistic people? Why are we not included in your research? Why are we not even included in our own fucking proms? Why do we need a special needs proms? It's a dance. My needs aren't special. I can just wear ear defenders. Like, I can get a date. Plot twist, So, like, I can't even, autistic kids can't even be in the same classrooms. You're shoving them in duffel bags. Like, you're putting them in isolation closets. What the fuck is wrong with you? And if you can see this and you can hear about this and you can know about the story of the 8-year-old boy that froze to death, or like the 2 twins that got shot in the chest by her grandma, like, if you can know this and know that this is going on, like, how am I the one that lacks empathy and you aren't? So no, like, I will never, ever, ever support anybody going into ABA therapy. It was wrong when Pavlov did it. It's wrong. We are not animals. Stop treating us like we're less than human just because we don't communicate in the same way that you do. And like, if you're an ABA therapist or you just love autistic people or people with autism, like, you really need to evaluate where you stand in the world, because right now you are on the wrong side of history. And I will tell you this, and I will tell you this 1,000 times. In 50 years, that's almost as long as autism's been around, really. In 50 years, 70 years, whatever, you are going to be a person that sits in regret because of the atrocities that you have committed against our community. And you have the power to stop it and say it's wrong and help the other autistic people. You have the power just to listen, but you choose not to because you think that scientists know the answer. Plot twist, a fucking doctor is the one that started the anti-vaccine movement and said that we were this epidemic. You trusted Jenny McCarthy, and you don't trust thousands and thousands and millions of autistic people? Like, again, what is wrong with you? So, yeah, welcome to my channel. I'm going to make videos about autistic adults. This is my view on ABA therapy, and I guarantee you if you try to argue with me in the comments, come at me. I was second in the country for debate. That's how I learned how to talk to people. And you know what? I loved every second of it, and it didn't take 20 to 40 hours of someone fucking torturing me.